But out of those books, I created a few other characters that I have become quite fond of. One is Louis' father, Jesus. Now, Jesus is a man who grew up, who raised a family in the 30s and 40s in this state. And he, he is the kind of guy who knows the history of this state better than a lot of so-called historians because he lived it. And he has a conflict with his son, Luis, because Jesus has lived the life and Luis has talked about the life at the beginning of the series. And so there's always this one-on-one between the two, father and son. They love each other and they respect each other, but they can't help arguing with each other. Does that sound familiar? And so Louis turns to Jesus for help and advice. And then I think by the end of the series, Jesus is turning to Louis and is saying, what have you learned and what can you teach me? And I like that. I like that circle that I think I created with these characters. There's a woman in the book, Teresa Fuentes, who's a mysterious young lawyer from Texas who comes to Denver and of course captures Louis' heart. But she is on this trip to discover the truth about her father and the death of her father. And so she's central to the mystery and knows so much that Louis doesn't know. And some of it Louis never discovers, actually, what Teresa knows and how she's involved. I like that character too. Now I've got to admit, my wife told me I should tell you this. When this book was first presented to some students in California, it had won the Chicano Latino Literary Prize. And so I went to UCI, Irving, very nice ceremony and very nice presentation. And I was feeling pretty good. I won this award, and I was in another state, and I was talking to people about my work. And so I said, well, are there any questions, comments? And I got attacked. And I think it had to do with Teresa, because for some reason, and I don't know what was going on here, but for some reason I was accused of being a chauvinist because I made Teresa attractive. And Louis was falling in love with her. And I said, well, that doesn't happen, or what? Anyway, I actually think she is one of the strongest characters I've ever created. And if you read the book and see what she does, and how she is really the one who solves the mystery, and Louis may take credit for it, but Teresa is the one who knows. I think, well, I don't know, maybe, you tell me, if you can find that book. What's chauvinistic about that? Maybe I just don't get it. There's also another book of mine called Mooney's Road to Hell. Now, this is a standalone private eye novel. It's not part of the Montes series. And it was my exercise in what I call Chicano Noir. And you can tell that it's a dark book because it has a black cover. That's always a clue. And as librarians, you already know that. It is a very dark book, and I just happened to be reading some pages from that book, which I haven't read some of my stuff for years. Right? And so I went back and I told Flo, God, I can't believe I wrote this. In fact, I don't know if I wrote this. It sounds so different, and it sounds like somebody else did this. but there's my name on the book, and I've got some files about it, and I signed a contract for it. I actually got a little bit of money for that book. So I wrote it, but I'll tell you, when I dipped into the noir bucket, I almost drowned, I think, because that is a very dark book, and it is not accessible to everyone. But if you like gritty, three-dimensional, hardcore crime fiction, I'd recommend Moody's Roadhouse. It's a book that deals with immigration issues and identity issues. It deals with issues of sexual orientation. There's a lot in that book that I'm surprised, I put into it. Now that may sound strange to people who aren't writers, or who don't write, because there may be this perception that a writer has this view of the completed work, and sometimes even an outline, which some writers use, and all the details are mapped out, and so the writer just has to put it together and start here and end over here. And that is never the way it has worked with me. It started out with a character, usually, maybe a big theme that I want to talk about, and then I put the character in a situation, and from there we move forward. And so other characters pop up. The plot never happens the way I think it's going to happen. I know some writers talk about how the characters take over, and they're just channeling these characters. And again, Flo laughs at that idea. She's a little more down to earth than I am on quite a few things. So I don't believe that the characters take over, but I know that they surprise me. And we seldom end up where I think we're going to go in the book. So it's not surprising to me that when I go back years later and read some stuff, I'm surprised that what I put together, because it just sort of, it happens, the creation, the art, and I just go with it. The last two characters I want to mention, Ramon Hidalgo is the king of the Chicanos. Now this is not crime fiction, that novel. It came out last year. It was published by Wings Press from San Antonio. It's hard to classify. I guess it's mainstream. It's because it's not